Listen, we got some audio here. Greg Alexander has some a bombshell. He's dropped a bombshell on SEN, and we got the audio right here.
I think there's a feeling out there, and we've been talking Nicho Hynes. He's their marquee man. He's their $1 million player, but he must be under pressure to hold his spot after the performance against the Storm over the weekend. Braden Trindle, Daniel Atkinson been doing a very good job as the halves pairing. Nicho Hynes comes back into the side. There's got to be some questions about whether he gets a start. I think I would personally go with Trindle and Atkinson. But as Vossi said, that if you do that, if Craig Fitzgibbon says, well, Nicho, you are not our man for this weekend's game, he's virtually saying, well, I've got no faith in you to be the man next year either, or the year after that.
There he is. Wow, what are your thoughts, Smithy?
No, I wouldn't leave him out. I'd put him in and give him another opportunity. I think he's not the first and won't be the last number 7 to play below par by their own standards in a finals game. There's no way that can ever happen. So, and I know there's a lot of talk about Nicho at the moment and his ability, to perform in the big matches, but that's been the case for the whole side, hasn't it? The last couple of seasons.
Before he even got to the club, it's been the case.
They've really struggled come this time of year. Like they had the best season of their existence in 2016 when they took out the grand final, but. The last couple of years, they haven't been good as a footy side. And you can't, looking at that match on the weekend, you can't just say, oh, that's all Nicho's fault. I just think they played poorly as a footy side. They tried hard and yeah, that's great. Effort's great. But this time of year, you need more than just effort to win the big matches. You need the ability to go out and play at a high quality, with high quality skill and being able to understand, circumstances during the match and being able to read the game and manage the game throughout the 80 minutes, which they weren't able to do. So, as I said before, they looked a little bit nervous. For what reason, I'm not too sure, because they finished as a top 4 side. They were in the top 4 for pretty much the whole year. So, they are a quality outfit, but they just couldn't get it going the other week. As far as Nicho's concerned, look, I think you put him back in. He is in. He's number 7 this week again. To face the Cowboys. But this is the big test for him. They have to win this one. If they don't win this one, wow, the pressure is enormous, not just on Nicho, but that entire football team, if they go out in straight sets again.
Yeah.
We spoke about, I was asked about Nicho and how or if I was in his shoes and how I'd handle this situation, right? The other night after the Cowboys Knights game, and you just when you're in a position like Nicho, when you're getting paid a lot of money, there's a lot of media attention on you, there's a lot of public attention on you. You just got to focus on your footy. Don't worry about anything else. Don't read newspapers. Don't turn the news on, because more than likely your name's going to be in there and people are going to be speaking about you, like we are now on the radio, because it's an interest of everyone in the game, right? People want to hear opinions. But your main concern or your main focus should be, how are you going to go out and play at your very best this weekend against the Cowboys and give yourself an opportunity to play well and get a victory for your team? Listening to people's opinions aren't going to do that, And, throughout my career, if certain individuals had something to say about me, I didn't pick up a paper.
Yeah.
Didn't read the news. Probably helped living in Melbourne, where, you had to rip the Herald Sun back about 14 pages to see anything written about rugby league, and then it wasn't really much. But as far as, turning on the telly, don't watch anything. Don't watch anything or listen to anything that involves rugby league.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to help you play well on the weekend.
Yeah.
It won't. There's a very small group of people that could actually use that as motivation, right? To go and get your job done. It doesn't seem like Nicho is the type of guy that is in that category. I think all he needs to worry about is just be at training, get his head where it needs to be in the game and in his preparation, and focus on that. Focus solely on that. Don't worry about anything else. Just go and live your life. Don't listen to people's opinions, because at the end of the day, what I'm talking about right now, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to him. It shouldn't matter to him. It shouldn't matter to him. It's just it's for our listeners to hear what I want to say and what my thoughts are. But to Nicho, all he should be worried about is getting himself in the best possible position he can be for this weekend to go and play good footy.
Yeah.
Now after this week, right, and after this season finishes, whenever it is that the Sharkies finish, then that's up to him and the coaching staff to decide what's best for him moving forward and what's best for the footy side. Is it to continue with the number 7 on his back? Not sure. Does he move to fullback? Not sure. That's up to them to decide.
Yeah, I think that sometimes, in the media, we can get a bit caught up in almost like a natural narrative gets created, like as if the Sharkies were just great without Nicho. And it's just not the case. It really isn't the case. They had one win against the Storm down in Melbourne with Atkinson, so Trindle wasn't playing.
Yep.
And also, Nicho Hynes only came back in round 26. He came back, they dominated the Warriors most of the game, and then it took SJ Magic to get that win.
Yep.
The next week, he absolutely towels up Manly Seagulls, and then he goes down to Melbourne. I'm sorry, but that Melbourne side is a premiership heavyweight. Like the Sharks.
They're favourites, aren't they?
They're like favourites to win the comp. The Sharks are like, they're like fourth or whatever they are, like $6. Outsiders. And so, yes, for sure, 37-10 is not good. But to judge Nicho off one game down in Melbourne against the Melbourne Storm, I just think it's bizarre. He's the only player in the competition that he can go and win a Dally M, then be in the top 10 for Dally M the next year, and then be out injured and come back in 2 games. One of the games he loses to the Warriors, and then the next game he smashes Manly. And already talking about dropping him, I just, no other player, like, for example, when Munster came back and wasn't playing that well, did anyone sit there and go, Trindle,
Munster.
Not Munster, Wishart. Wishart should be the 6 because he was playing so well before. I don't understand this how quickly we are to take a guy that when he arrived at Cronulla, they were 9th or 10th. He's taken them 4th, 5th, and 4th. Sorry, he's taken them 2nd, 5th, and 4th. And granted, like he's already said, I'll put my hand up. I didn't play as well as I should have. Tell me a single Sharks player that played well on the weekend. Give me one.
No. It's hard to toss one up. He was very good.
Yeah, he was very good. Maybe Iro was quite good. Like Mulatalo had one of his worst games he's had in quite a while. Obviously, Will Kennedy had that initial issue at the start. I find it really...
They were all off.
They were all off. And also, Melbourne Storm, premiership favourites, were on. It was the best game they played all season long. Yeah. And so I also think, granted, I totally understand the argument of if you're the 7 and you're the marquee player, even if you play well, all that matters is you get the win. So, ironically, if he doesn't play well but they get the win, I'm sure Nicho would prefer that. But you actually go back to his last game against the Roosters and the Cowboys in the last 2 years in finals. Nicho was the Sharks' best player. And again, that's not good enough. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, well, then that's fine. He's the marquee player. He's done his job. No, his job is to win. So I'm not. What I am saying is this idea that it's like boom or bust. You either are just the greatest finals player ever, or you should be dropped. I don't agree with it. I think the only way that this Sharks team makes progresses anywhere further in the competition is if Nicho is in that spine. Wherever you want to put him, whether it's 6 or 1 or whatever, I don't see them progressing unless he is in that spine, in my opinion.
But you think he stays in the halves this week, though?
For sure. I think you'd be crazy not to. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he just beat Manly 40-20.
All right.
I'll
give you a scenario, though, okay? 20 minutes in, it's a lot like last week. They're not going well. Cowboys score 3 tries. What do you do?
And he's playing terribly, like it's his fault?
Well, yeah, he's just not playing well.
Oh, well, I mean, that's a different story.
Do you swap? Do you put Atkinson out there and just say, mate, bring him off?
I think
we got to try something different.
I think that would apply to a lot of people, though. If it's 3 tries down, And, for example, like Jake Clifford is having, I know Jake Clifford's not on Nicho Hynes level, but Jake Clifford's having a Barry. And you've got a guy that's been playing really well in his position. I think you'd probably consider it. I mean, look at Chad Townsend, for example. Chad Townsend's one of their top tier players.
Yeah, not even there.
Not there. So I think in the game, if you've got so far behind and Nicho is playing really poorly, then that's in that specific time you go, okay, look, we need to make some changes in a key spot for sure. Like I don't think that's too crazy. But I would say that about an outside back. You'd say it about a forward. Like hate to kick him while I'm down, but like Rudolph in that first 20 minutes for the Sharkies last week, like unfortunately I would have been pulling him off after probably 10 just because
he'd like to forget that, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
The opening 20.
Just because it wasn't working for him. So I'm not fully against it as in he has to stay on the field. However, like heading into the game, this kind of myth that's been created that Trindle and Atkinson are just these guns that have won all these games for the Sharkies, it's not true. They've won like one or two together, literally one or two together.
Isn't it funny how quickly it can change for an individual?
Oh, mate.
So what? So Nicho won the Dally M 2 years ago?
Yeah.
2022, and he was the pretty much the face of the game.
Yeah.
He was the glamour boy, and then now all of a sudden, just failing to get victories for his footy side in the big matches. All of a sudden, he's just on the outer. Isn't that strange how that happens?
It's bizarre. And
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but just the way the whole thing works, like perceptions of people.
Yeah. He's been back 3 games. He has been injured most of the year. So that's what's crazy to me. It's not like we've been watching Hynes struggle for 10 games. We're talking of a Dally M player that had one okay game, one extremely good game, and a poor game, and already we're saying maybe we should.
Moving forward this week, right? Let's hope that Nicho's in a good frame of mind heading into this match, okay? And he prepares himself well, and he's up for the contest against the Cows because he's going to have to be, right? They're a good footy side.
Absolutely.
They're a good footy side.
I'm actually picking them, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I think the Cowboys. Yeah.
So let's hope he's in that right frame of mind, okay? And I feel as though he's got to be given the shot to play 7, which I think Craig Fitzgibbon's going to do. Like he's been named there. So, but at the end of the day, this is elimination football.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's not going right early doors, then there's going to have to be changes made. And if that surrounds Nicho, well, that surrounds Nicho. Okay. And then whatever happens, like I said, whatever happens post this game, whether they progress through or whether this is their last match, then you deal with it as it comes. All they should be thinking about now is every day as it comes with their preparation, going into the game, thinking about, well, okay, how do I go out there and get the very best out of myself and all of my teammates around me? If the Sharks can do that, right? If the Sharks can play their best football, I think that's too good for the Cowboys. I think it's too good for the Cowboys, right? Yeah. So, and if they get the win, okay, a little bit of pressure gets relieved from that entire footy side, not just Nicho, from that entire footy side, and then they move to a prelim. If they lose, well, okay, the naysayers, they come out again and say, look, well, there you go. There's evidence that they can't get it done at this time of year. And then they have to deal with that. It's part of the game, unfortunately, right? These guys are professionals. They're paid to go out and play well and win. So, let's hope for Nicho that he goes out there and he proves a lot of people wrong. That the people that are saying, look, he can't do it. Well, he can. He can. He's just got to get himself right. And mainly, you don't lose your ability. But like I've said this many, many times, mate, you don't lose your ability overnight. It's just about getting his mindset right and his attitude right and making sure that his head's in the game to go out there and get his best footy on.
Yeah, and I hope that obviously the half has a big say in this, but I hope that his forward pack and the rest of his team can get him in a position where he has more than 40% possession of the ball. They'd literally
very difficult, mate. Yeah, very difficult as a half when your big men are being dominated like they were against Melbourne.